Hi guys, welcome back. You're just in time to see me build my new PC. So this I'm going to use it for basically it's a massive upgrade from what I'm using, and I really want to continue making videos of my games for YouTube. So basically at the start here, I'm just going to do a little bit of unboxing for you, because I know a lot of you guys out there love to watch some unboxing videos. I'm a bit of a fan of them myself. Um, but yeah, this is the Zalman Z3 Plus case, really nice case, very happy with it. Lots of space, lots of, I mean, it's got excellent airflow through it. There's two fans in the front there, two in the top and one in the back there. So yeah, it's really good airflow. MSI motherboard, a friend of mine recommended them highly. They have good reviews online. So yeah, basically just go and see what you need, and they're really good price too. I think I picked this one up for, I think it was just over, just under £100 or just over £100. But yeah, it's a really nice case. In fact, it might have been actually something like 98, 99 or something. So basically, say £100. So if you don't have an anti-static wristband, you want to go and maybe touch a bit of plumbing in the house, something that's going to be really well earthed before you go touch your motherboard. I got a 1 terabyte Seagate Barracuda hard drive. I was planning on a 2 terabyte drive, but as the price kept going up and up and up, that's where I managed to save a extra little bit of cash. I saved about 30 or 40 quid. And sort of pretty standard little CPU killer. For the processor I bought was an OEM processor, so it doesn't come with a CPU killer, but it did work out a bit cheaper just to buy the cooler separate and get the OEM processor. Now the processor is an i5 4670K. It's going to be great for overclocking. It runs on standard at 3.4 gigahertz. I haven't actually overclocked it yet, so I will let you guys know what I get out of it. Nice little Zalman gaming mouse. It really wasn't expensive at all, but it's just got those couple of extra little buttons that I like to have. And then I got a nice little set of speakers and a mic. I'm really happy with these. They look great. The sound quality from them whenever you're playing the game, it's really immersive. Great little set, great little headset. So that's about it for the unboxing. So here we go. We'll start the build. So first things first, get rid of the two side panels. You won't need them until you're putting the thing back together. So you take the two off. So obviously you get your components on one side and space for your cabling on the other. Take any extra bits of paper, plastic out of the case. So pop the fifth fan on. I did have to buy a separate fan. It came with 4 fans and had 5 fan slots. So I think those are 12 centimeter fans, and they've got 4 little blue LEDs in each corner, so they're going to look really nice whenever they're on. Just make sure you've got it orientated. These two in the front are 2 big intake fans, so they're going to suck cold air into the front. I mean, airflow is really one of the reasons why I went for this case. There's a lot you can do a lot with it. You can put a really hot build in this, and like the fan cooling itself would have a massive impact on keeping it cool. So we're just putting the inserts the little spacer nuts for the motherboard in first. It was really easy to see exactly where they went, but you can pop the motherboard in, use a marker or something to mark them out. But there's 9 bolts, and there's basically in rows of 3. So this is the little bracket we fit on the back that covers the ports on the motherboard. It comes with the board, so it just basically clips in. I'm not putting the board in yet, but I am just looking to see that I have got all the little spacer nuts in the right place. Make sure they line up. Make sure that the ports on the motherboard line up with that little bracket I installed. Everything is looking good. So once I'm just sure that there's a great connection being made with that bracket, then I'm going to take it out and we shall start with putting in the CPU and the core and the RAM. So if we undo this little latch here and take this black thing off, now put that black thing back in the motherboard box because you will need it if you ever have to return the motherboard. They won't accept it without it. But this is the processor. You'll see here it's got 2 little notches. Well, actually in this first corner there I pointed to, there's a little yellow or a gold arrow, and then 2 little notches up the back, and you'll see that they line up with markings and notches on the motherboard. And what you're going to do is you're basically just going to set it down on top of those little, if you can see it there, little pins basically, and that's it. It just sits down, no pushing, no you don't have to be rough with it. It just sets in, and then you put this little clip over, hold on to your motherboard so it doesn't get away from you, and push the clip down and lock it into place. And now if you probably want to put your CPU fan in, or maybe just have a heatsink. What I need here is a little bracket to the heatsink and the CPU cooler. It's not got a 1150 socket on it, but this little adapter will allow it to plug into 1150 socket, which is what the motherboard has. So you just put these little plastic tacks into the holes, and what they'll do is they'll go down through that and actually out through the other side of the motherboard. And whenever you put the little black bits of plastic in the middle of them, they will open up on the other side of the motherboard, and the tension will hold that socket snugly in firmly in place. Now you want to make sure these are in perfectly, because the connection between your CPU heatsink and the actual the heatsink off the CPU fan, it relies on a really good connection here. I'm not saying you have to screw it in until the thing breaks, but you don't want a gap in there, because there'll be no heat conversion if there's any gaps. So really, just to pop the fan on, you want to just make sure it's perfectly in place before you set it down. So you just don't want any more chances of getting a bit of dirt in between there, or smearing the thermal paste off it. But it sits in really nicely, and then just screw it in. Try and screw it in opposite corners, and screw it in a little bit at a time. Don't screw one side in super tight and then try and screw the rest in, because it'll end up being wonky and it won't make a great connection and it will be inefficient. But it's that simple. Just processor in, put your little latch down. If you need a bracket, put your bracket in, put your CPU fan on top of it, and then we're ready to put the RAM in. Now one thing about that fan is it's actually a little wide. It's a low profile fan, so it's maybe a little wider than some fans, or it's just that it's a little bit closer to that RAM slot. But I can't actually get the RAM into the first blue line, so I'm going to have to use the 2 black lines. Now the RAM I'm using is AVRX core, Blue Series, 8 GB, so that's 24 GB, and it's DDR3. But you see, we get them in there, and we're ready now to actually screw the motherboard into the case. So as I said before, there's 9 screws. Just going to make sure it all lines up nicely, and I am ready to start screwing. Now you want to be careful here that the screws are straight, because if you get a lopsided screw, the pressure it'll put in the board is probably going to crack it. And B, you don't want to screw them in overly tight. You don't want to over tighten them. So you just screw them in until there's a bit of resistance, and then you're sure that they're not going to be loose or shaking about either. So obviously with that fan sitting quite high up in the case, that if there's any looseness in them, it will cause vibration and loosen them more. But that's it, pretty much screwed in. I'm just going to test now and just make sure they're all as tight as I want them to be, and then we can move on with, I think, the power supply. We'll put it in next. Now, I think I said at the start of the video I haven't actually ordered a graphics card yet, so I'm going to be using my old NVIDIA 9800 GT. But this is the power supply. I did go for a cheap option on the power supply. As I said, it was supposed to be a budget, but trying to sort of save money where I can. And this is something that can be easily replaced with a quality power supply in the future. Because there's a lot of people say spend money in your power supply, get a good Corsair power supply or something, and they're completely right. You really should spend a bit of money in the power supply, but I just didn't have it in my budget. It was just one of these places I could save an extra couple of pounds to get me that i5 and to hopefully get me the Nvidia's maybe 760 graphics card. So there's a vent on the bottom of the case there, so I'm just going to put the fan straight down into that vent. There's a good bit of space between the desk and the bottom of the fan, or at the bottom of the case, so there'll be plenty of space to suck some nice cool air into the power supply and keep it nice and cool. I really don't want to be sucking warm air down through the power supply from inside the case, so the option is there, and it is the best option. So it's dead simple to put these in. It's 4 screws, so you place it in the bottom, and screw your 4 screws in, and it is ready to start plugging everything else in. And that's what I'm going to do now. Once I get these tight, I will start plugging everything in. Now don't be afraid to look at manuals, guys. Manuals will save you a lot of time in finding the right slot to put all your connections. So everything's connected up. I haven't tidied the cables at the back because I just want to do a little power up and just make sure it's going to work here. I put the power cable in, but I'm just going to keep on checking and double checking just to see I've got all the cables in. I'm checking on the back. Turn the power on. One last little look in. I press the button, it doesn't fire up. I press again, it doesn't fire up. And you'll notice now in a second what the problem was. There's a yellow cable going up front there. That was a little power cable that goes up to up near the CPU. And that was what was obviously stopping it from starting. So we hit the button and it starts up perfectly. All fans spinning. CPU fans going. The RAM is lighting up nicely. You see there's a little LED tube that goes along, and they light up blue. So I've now tidied up all the cables in the back. That's it, pretty much ready to go. While I was putting the cables in, I put the hard drive in. I put a little optical drive in. You see there now I've got my old graphics card hooked in, and everything is ready to go. It's hooked up, running perfectly. I just got to install Windows. So, look, guys, thanks for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed watching the video. Maybe you've got you find it a little bit helpful with maybe something that you're doing yourself. You're doing a bit of tinkering or maybe doing your own build. Um, just gonna leave you now with a couple of images of the computer because I think it is a really good looking PC. So look, guys, if you liked it, don't forget to subscribe and tune in to all the videos that I'll be making with this new and lovely PC. Okay, thanks, guys.